So Apple just had a very interesting beta release schedule today. They released iOS 16 Beta 7 to all developers, and then they also sort of released iPadOS 16 Beta 7, but instead of calling it Beta 7, they're totally rebranding it as iPadOS 16.1 Beta 1. So without further ado, let's talk about iPadOS 16.1 Beta 1 and see if there were any improvements and tangible differences between iPadOS updates, and we're going to talk about what this renaming really means. Let's talk about it. So let's jump right into this video, everybody. Like I always like to start this video off with, I like to make sure that I show you guys exactly how large this update was. So with 16.0, and again, this is a little bit strange because when I did update it, it said 16.0 on here, and you can see that it was about half a gig of actual storage to get this installed. So if you guys do want to get this installed, leave yourself at least 1 gigabyte of storage in order to get it installed and installed correctly. But then the moment that I was done installing it, if I go to the next image, it says your iPad has been updated to iPadOS 16.1. So I was a little bit curious. I was like, I wonder what that means. And then I double checked with everything. So I went back into my general 16.1 iPadOS is up to date. And here I can actually go into my settings and show you guys live exactly what I'm talking about. So if we go to software update, you can see that I'm on 16.1. And then when I go into the actual build number, which it has right here, we're on iPadOS 16.1, and the numbering is 20B5027F. So normally we go down and down on this little lowercase right here, which is that F, and that's what was happening with the last iterations. But with this one, we went back to F because it looks like Apple is finally treating iPadOS as its own update. Yes, Apple, when iOS 13 came out, did separate iOS and iPadOS, I believe 3-4 years ago now at this point. But all the updates have been very similar. It's all been kind of the same updates and different iterations onto iPadOS that iOS has gotten. But now, for the first time ever, Apple is staggering the release dates of iPadOS 16. And we do have confirmation from Apple's side, which I'll show on the screen right now, that because iPadOS 16 is going to be such a big update for the iPad itself, they have confirmed that they're delaying the release of iPadOS 16 until October, and they're foregoing 16 totally, and we're going to start with 16.1, which I'm totally okay with. Let's make sure that things like Stage Manager are running as smoothly as they should be. And then in terms of what's new, again, technically this is still a Beta 7 update, so there isn't anything new or anything tangible that I could really find. Everything just feels, more concise, more ready to go, for lack of a better term, right? So if I open up things like Safari, everything opens up how it should. And then if I long press on Safari, move another one over here, you get another window that I can resize and do whatever I see fit. There were some little nuances that I did want to mention because I use Stage Manager on a daily basis. So some little nuances that I did notice is if you want to open up another Safari tab, yeah, you can go into the 3 dots right here and add another window, but you can also actually click on the Safari tab and then you see a little plus button that hops up right here, and then boom, you have another Safari tab. And then another thing that I've noticed is that now this side shelf works very similarly to how the dock works. So it kind of works with that same, physics and inertia that Apple has, mastered over the years with the trackpad. Because normally, if the dock is completely taken up, so let me full screen this, you can see that the dock on the bottom of the screen is gone. In order for me to bring the dock back up again, I gotta push down in order for it to come back up. So same thing now occurs with this little side app shelf. So if I just push and push even more, then this app shelf comes up. I can drag, one of the Safaris. I can go back over here, grab this Safari, go back over here, push and grab this Photos application, and now we're cooking with a bunch of different applications at the same time. And now again, we're still limited to only 4 applications on each one of these, and you can have up to 4 different sets of 4, so you can have up to 16 apps open at the same time if you really want to, and then have another 16 on that secondary monitor, which is up here, which I'll show you guys in a second. But overall, Stage Manager stability is working extremely well. So if you guys do want to try to update it, again, big caveat that we are in the beta, and if you guys lose something, I'm sorry about that. But for the most part, it does work really well, and it even works well with third-party applications like YouTube, like a Spike Mail, which I can open up here. This is Apple Maps. I can open up Twitter on the side right here, and then resize them to see, how I see fit. So we'll move this over, make sure I can see YouTube. We'll bring this down over here. Apple Maps, I gotta check my itinerary for the rest of the day. I can move this over to this side, and we have all our apps open and ready to go. But the last thing I do want to show you is a few more nuances on the larger screen. So let's show that off. So now we're on the wide screen here. What I do want to show off was how Stage Manager is working on a secondary display. If you guys have been following the channel, you know that I had a 44-inch ultra-wide. That was only a 1080p display. So we actually have this new one by A-Logic called the Clarity. We do have a video on this one coming out soon, but this is a 4K 27-inch monitor which should work in theory better with Stage Manager turned on. So if I go up here, same things apply, right? Everything still works pretty smoothly. You can see that it opens up in full screen. So if I want to go to youtube.com, I can do that. You know, if I want to Control T to get another tab open, again, I just use a shortcut on the keyboard. Let's go to Bleacher Report. I can resize this to make it a little bit smaller. And then what I can do is I can grab this tab, move it over to full screen it, and now I have another version of Safari open up. You can see that it's still not 100% perfect, but that was a very, niche use case to be able to do that. But overall, it does work as advertised for the most part. But again, you can click on your three dots, you can close, you can move it to the iPad if you want, and then same thing applies. So if I want to bring up the dock, I push down, let's bring open Twitter, let's push down again and see if I want to open up, oh, there we go, a Springboard reload. This happens on occasion. It's not a big deal. So nothing really gets lost with a Springboard reset. So if I open up Twitter, everything is there from before. And same thing applies for the sidebar. So inertia kicks in for down here as well. So again, for the most part, it's working well. It needs to be working better, but I can see why Apple's delaying this until October, maybe early November. But Stage Manager is working pretty well. Last thing I do want to bring up is a game. So let's bring up NBA 2K, see what that looks like on a secondary display. You can see that it's not going to take up the entire display. Even if I try to full screen it, oh, it looks like it does take up the entire display. So you can see that it tried to take up the entire screen, but you still get black barred over here. So it'll keep that same aspect ratio, but at least it does allow you to full screen the application, which again, isn't the best case scenario, but if I want to make it smaller, I can do that too. And then it kind of just stays in this weird format, and it does work because I'm dragging everything, click on the association. So I don't really know how much you can extend this, but it probably depends on what game you're playing and also what aspect ratio it's natively known for. But let's get out of this view, talk about battery life, and then finish up the video. So last thing I'm going to bring up is battery life. So let's see how battery life has been adjusting with these new updates over time. So let's go over the last 10 days, and we're dealing with about an hour and 28 minutes of screen on time on average. So let's pick a day like Friday, for instance, here. We had 3 hours and 27 minutes of screen on time. That took up almost 80% battery. Let's see a day like this where we had 10 hours of screen off time, which is kind of crazy, which I don't even know what that took up. The photos maybe took that one up. Let's go on a day like Monday, which LumaFusion took about an hour and 15 minutes, which also equated to about a third of my percentage of battery. But 3 hours and 43 minutes on about a 75 to 80% charge, I'm okay with for the most part. Something like Saturday, 36 minutes of screen on time, took up no battery, so that's good to know. Monday, for instance, LumaFusion, about an hour, took up 36%. So task-intensive applications like LumaFusion, like Affinity Photo, and things like that are going to take up more battery. But overall battery life is improving. It's just not at that 8 to 10 hour battery life, which we want to see. But let's finish up this video and get out of here. So as you guys saw here, the name of the game here is all about stability. iPadOS 16.1 Beta 1 brought a lot of stability improvements when it comes to things like Stage Manager. And now with the separation, or the full separation of iOS and iPadOS 16, Apple feels more comfortable saying, hey, we're going to delay the release of iPadOS 16. We're going to release iOS 16 first in September. And then in October, when we have our October event, we're going to actually have 16.1 ready to go for anybody that wants to use it on their iPad in the entire public, which I think is a smart move. Like, make sure that Stage Manager is ready to go for everybody to be able to use, and then we'll kind of go from there. But that's going to do it for this video. If you guys did enjoy, leave a little dolphin in the comments down below so that I know you made it to the end. And leave some comments down below. Are you guys going to try Stage Manager when it does come out? Are you guys in the developer program right now? Always curious to know. And also, let me know which iPad you have, because I'm curious to know what your experience is like with the different versions of iPadOS 16 that we're going to be getting moving down the line. But stay subscribed, and if you guys want to see some more coverage on the Apple event coming in September, be sure to subscribe and then maybe see some leaks and rumors on one of these videos right here. But until next time, I'm Fernando, and I'm out.